We have to call 911. Mom had an accident.
Please, hurry!
911, state your emergency.
My mom hurt herself. She needs help.
Every year, thousands of emergency calls are received in Lake County's Central Communications Center. Within moments, the dispatchers can mobilize the appropriate police, fire, or rescue squads to respond to the calls. The dispatchers use state-of-the-art communications equipment. This is a paperless system that allows the dispatchers to respond rapidly using radios and computers. In this busy hub of activity, our dispatchers have over 130 years of dispatching experience, yet many calls still keep them on the edge of their seats. Record keeping of all this activity is kept automatically by tape recorders and computers. In this video tour, you'll see how we dispatch emergencies throughout the county 24 hours a day. Our Central Communications Center is located inside the Lake County Emergency Operation and Communications Center. This center is in Kirtland, next door to Lakeland Community College. With us in the building is the Emergency Management Agency, which will direct the overall response to any major disaster in the county. Naturally, the Emergency Center itself is built to withstand most types of disasters. It is made of steel reinforced concrete and is completely covered by several feet of dirt. Our new radio tower on the right and the smaller backup tower are next to the building. The radio towers and the building are protected by a 10-foot-high security fence and surveillance cameras. Inside, the Emergency Center has backup systems to assure reliable operations. For example, there are 2 generators that can produce electricity at a moment's notice. Fire suppression in the building is handled primarily by halon gas, which can be less damaging to equipment than other fire suppression agents. Our computers have redundant capabilities to assure that no data is lost. Maintenance personnel for computers and telecommunications equipment are on call around the clock. Because of all the communications equipment, the county's telecommunications department is headquartered here. In the event of a major emergency, the staff in the building has food and water for 30 days, as well as dormitories and a medical dispensary. It all means that the Emergency Center is prepared for reliable operations. The operations of our dispatching center include the use of an 800 megahertz radio system that reaches all of Lake County with good coverage out to the borders. When an emergency call comes in, we use our radio to dispatch the local police and fire departments. Within our 800 megahertz system, we have the ability to contact each community. Some communities have contracted with us to dispatch all of their emergency calls. Our dispatching room includes 6 consoles for receiving emergency calls. Each console has virtually identical equipment. 2 consoles are dedicated to handling fire calls, and 4 others handle police calls. Each console serves a geographic area of Lake County. Of course, the dispatchers work together as a team in many emergencies. For greatest efficiency, each dispatcher wears a headset that handles radio and telephone communications. This frees both hands to work the computer keyboard, as well as the communications console. With the press of a button, the dispatcher can establish radio contact with many police departments, fire departments, and emergency medical units, all the school buses in Lake County, and other organizations such as hospitals. Also on the console, the dispatcher can use a 50-button telephone set with color-coded buttons. If you dial 911 or a 7-digit number for emergency help, your call will be answered here. There's a touch-tone phone for making calls, backed up by rotary dialing. There's a special telephone to receive calls from people who are hearing impaired. Both parties communicate by typing messages. There's a hotline from the Perry Nuclear Power Plant's control room. This 5-way telephone line includes the plant, Lake, Geauga, Ashtabula County Emergency Centers, and Ohio's Radiological Office in Columbus. Interagency correspondence can be routed quickly on the fax machine. There's even a weather monitor to help dispatchers keep up with changing conditions. As you can see, we have a major communication system right here at our fingertips.
911, state your emergency.
Calls for police assistance can range from automobile fender benders to some dire emergencies.
Sometimes a person ready to commit suicide calls us. We try to keep the caller on the line while the rescue team is responding.
If that caller used the 911 number, it may help save his or her life. Here's why. When 911 is dialed, within seconds we'll see the name of the owner of the phone, the address of the phone, and the phone number. Even if the caller hangs up immediately or uses a public phone, the information will be displayed. If you call 911 with an emergency, stay on the line if you can. Our dispatcher will ask you for the location of the emergency. After all, you may be reporting an accident down the street.
Where is the accident? Okay, how many vehicles are involved? Can you tell if anybody's hurt?
The dispatcher will ask about the extent of the emergency to determine how much help to send. The dispatcher will use the computer to locate police cars near the accident. Quickly, the computer will recommend the appropriate police unit to respond to your emergency. Then the dispatcher will radio to the police car.
Central Sheriff's 1 Adam 2. Respond to North Region Center for a non-injury accident.
If the police are pursuing someone across the border of one community into another, then the police from both communities must respond. The dispatcher simply patches together their radios and they can all talk to each other. If the police officer is traveling to a specific address, we can alert the officer to previous events at that address. There may have been events involving drugs or violence. Likewise, there may be a record of someone with a special medical problem or handicap at that address. As well as information about addresses, we can supply information about specific individuals. We use a data bank called LEADS, Law Enforcement Automated Data System. In less than a minute, an individual's driving record can be provided to a police officer. Also, the driving record can become part of the computerized report on the incident. To summarize briefly, when you need the police, call 911. We'll automatically know your location. Our computer will find the appropriate police units to respond, and we'll use our radios to dispatch them. We'll support the police with computerized background information about individual people and locations so they can arrive better prepared.
911, state your emergency.
A number of Lake County communities have contracted with us to dispatch their fire departments. The fire calls can cover a wide range, from field fires to hazardous materials.
Right now we have an oil tank on fire in someone's backyard. The fire is close to the house.
Before dispatching a fire truck, we clarify the location and type of fire. Then, the computer displays which fire trucks will be needed first. Often, specific types of firefighting equipment must be called out for the job. Using our new 450 megahertz paging system, or the low-band pager, the dispatcher alerts the fire department. The pager's alarm will sound and the pager will display a printed message giving the type of emergency and the address. The firefighters acknowledge the message on either the 800 megahertz radio or the low-band radio. We can communicate simultaneously on both radio systems. Also, we can provide a printout of the address of the emergency. The conversation picks up again while the fire truck is on the way. Valuable information can be provided, such as an alert about someone with a special medical problem or handicap at that address. We may know where the fire hydrants are located, such as inside a mall or a factory. We may know the types of hazardous materials stored there. We have hotline phone numbers to utility companies and security companies serving that address. Also, previous events at that address can be passed along. At the scene of a fire, if an individual firefighter or police officer needs emergency help, the red emergency alert button on the portable radio can summon help. The signal will be heard by our 800 megahertz radio system. An alarm will sound in our dispatch center and a visual display will be presented. Immediately, a dispatcher will request the proper fire or police department to respond to the person in distress. When several fire departments are needed on the scene, they and we will turn to the same page of the mutual aid book called MABUS, which stands for Mutual Aid Box Alarm System. This plan shows who will supply what equipment in various situations. we stand by as the county-wide communications backup. If we're needed, we can broadcast a message to all the fire departments at the same time. Also, we can broadcast to all the police departments at the same time. Our 800 megahertz radio system will temporarily override their other radio traffic. So, if you have a fire emergency, call 911. We'll locate specific fire trucks to respond. We'll use our radio and pagers to dispatch the firefighters. We'll give them computerized background information about the fire scene. We'll support them with a security alarm on each portable and mobile radio. If it's a major disaster, we can call for additional help throughout the county.
"911, state your emergency."
Often, the calls for emergency medical service are pleas for help with breathing difficulties and heart attacks. The dispatcher receiving the call may ask for teamwork.
Cheryl, I have a medical emergency. Could you please get ready to page the fire department for me?
Okay.
Then, the dispatcher asks the caller for the specific address and nature of the emergency.
Can you tell me about the pain? Is it dull or sharp? Is it radiating? Okay, and where is the pain at?
The computer gives her questions to ask about that type of medical emergency. Also, it offers first aid treatments and other helpful instructions. In addition to the computer, a printed manual offers the same medical dispatching information as a backup. Meanwhile, the second dispatcher is looking at two computer screens. One displays the address of the caller and nature of the emergency. The second screen locates rescue squads in the area. To contact the crew of a rescue squad, she'll either type in a brief message that will go out on the pager, or she'll call on the radio. Once the crew is on the way, she'll update them.
10-4-2082 en route to the scene at 11:12. Be advised this male is 68 years old. His chief complaint is chest pains. He is conscious with difficulty breathing. Clear at 11-12 hours.
At this point, the dispatches are finished, but they'll stand by in case they're needed again. Dispatching medical services is very important at Central Communications. In fact, our dispatchers are certified in emergency medical dispatching.
Cheryl, have you heard how that gentleman is doing?
They're at the hospital.
I'm sure you'll agree, medical dispatching is a special skill. Behind the scenes, records are kept automatically and efficiently. Some are kept by our 60-channel tape recorder. A recording is made of the main radio traffic and of all telephone calls. The tape recordings are kept on file for 2 months. They may be retrieved for investigations and court cases. Computerized records of dispatching activity are kept by our computer-aided dispatching system. It prepares a chronological listing of all events. Also, the information can be sorted by types of activity, such as calls for fire, police, and medical assistance. This data is assembled into monthly, quarterly, and annual reports. The historical data begins with 1988, when Central Communications began computerized operations. The reports help indicate trends and are useful in planning for the future. Thank you for taking this video tour of Lake County Central Communications Center. You've seen that in an emergency, you can call us on 911 for police, fire, or emergency medical service. Our computer will locate the appropriate units to respond. We'll dispatch them by radio or by pager. We can dispatch mutual aid for police departments and back up the fire departments. Our computer system can supply background information about people and places. Anyone with an emergency alert button on a radio can reach us. From our Special Emergency Center, we're able to serve all communities county-wide. Each one of us is proud to be a part of the public safety team in Lake County, and we're proud of our high-tech equipment in the Emergency Operations Center. We're well-trained, well-equipped, and ready to help you in an emergency.